I'm Stephen Smith from George Washington University. I'm working with colleagues on a couple of basis projects. One is in Senegal, the other in Uganda. In both of these countries, in our projects in both Uganda and Senegal, I'm working very closely with my colleague Ram Fishman, also at George Washington University. For Senegal, we're trying to understand the impact of irrigation, both on crop yields, a big question, and other kinds of household outcomes. I've been interested in this question for quite a while because Africa is a place where, as we know, agricultural yields are not high. Africa has fallen behind in this area. We're very concerned about this. One of the main differences between Africa and South Asia, for example, South Asia where the Green Revolution took place, is irrigation. If you look at South Asia, perhaps 36%, just giving you a number off the top of my head, but in that range, 36% of the farmland is irrigated. If you look at Africa, it's more like 4%. And this is a special concern, not only because it can raise yields in farms now, but because of the imminent climate change problems that will hit Africa harder than elsewhere. So if drought becomes more common, irrigation will become even more important. But we find that there's not been real serious research of the kind that we had hoped to see on the effects of irrigation. So we have an opportunity to look at the implementation of irrigation for about 60 odd villages, which will serve about 30 or even as many as 50 small farmers, and compare these to comparable villages which do not have irrigation and really see the effects outside the laboratory, outside the university, on farm yields, but also, most important, on what happens to the people. One of our PhD students and an affiliated postdoc on the program went very recently to visit a prototype village which has a drip irrigation system just like the one that we are studying, implemented with the same experts, and they came back with rave reports in terms of how productive the fields looked, what the villagers said about the experience, and so it's very hopeful. And it's also the case that we often hear rave reports on programs that turn out not to work as well. So this is, first of all, just one program, and second, we don't know exactly why that one village was chosen to as the first prototype. So we just don't know if other villages will end up looking similar or not. There are other things that we could put our development assistance money into. Irrigation is just one of several things that we might think about. Another might be schooling or health programs or other things. So in order to see whether or not this is a fluke and whether or not it works in general for what seem like similar villages, it's very important to see if you get similar effects, or at least good effects, in the way that we're studying it objectively. Finding a large number of villages with some similar minimum characteristics that we need. There has to be a farmer organization already in place because we're, after all, not in the business of organizing farmers. But then, based on assigning the irrigation systems to some villages and not others, we hope to get a good sense. One, because we have a much larger number of villages, we know how it's assigned, and also we want to follow it for a longer period of time. So it's a case of seeing in the field something that really looks impressive, but seeing the need to carefully analyze all the things that might be making that village successful, and that could make others successful or not. In the case of Senegal, we're also interested in environmental sustainability. Drip irrigation, of course, was developed in Israel. It's what helped the deserts bloom, as I think the phrase goes. This is going to be very important in places such as Senegal. And so here, as irrigation is introduced to Africa, one of the very important things will be that it is done in an environmentally sustainable way. I'm not an ecologist, but my understanding is that drip irrigation can do that for us.